And what we've seen is what we actually feared. A collapse in business confidence has continued in our state. And what we're seeing now is employers are actively considering moving and relocating from Washington state. So I would say what the data here shows us, this should be considered a medical emergency for Washington's economy.
I have been out of state looking at other houses as well. It's just not a friendly jurisdiction to be in when you're villainized for being an entrepreneur here.
Here was her flippant attitude to wealth leaving.
I think the claims that millionaires are going to leave our state are like super overblown, and if the ones that leave, like bye. So
it's going to be tragic for our economy and for our businesses, especially. The state income tax will give our business nowhere to escape, unfortunately, and so they're going to start most likely moving out of state. We've already seen Starbucks start moving to Tennessee. Microsoft has closed some of their Seattle offices. Amazon has shut down expansion in Washington.
He said the Democrats' new income tax bill, they believe, is going to crush the business community in Washington state. He told me even if current big businesses don't relocate, the CEOs don't relocate, as we've already seen some of that happen here in Washington state, it's the next big thing that will not locate here in Washington state.
Recently had a survey come out, the Association of Businesses. The startling fact was 91% of Washington state employers say they won't expand in state as businesses eye the exits. Not only the businesses, but the personal residents of those business owners also looking to eye the exits, relocate somewhere else that isn't on the same path that Washington state is. Let's get into it. Here we go. This is a wild survey because it really does not paint a pretty picture. Meanwhile, you've got the dude who wrote the millionaire bill. He's basically saying, I don't think a lot of millionaires will be moving out of the state. I don't think this will really impact things. No, I think it will. I think it's going to moving forward, because what we've already seen is we've seen an exodus from Seattle to Bellevue. And now, because Bellevue also happens to be located in the state of Washington, it's going to be impacted by a millionaire's tax and just basically the direction that our state is heading in with our politics, in our anti-business climate. You've got a Climate Commitment Act. You've got high gas taxes. You've got progressive revenue that constantly has to be churned through increasing taxes to pay for a whole bunch of stuff that we arguably don't need. Criminal illegals. You know what I mean? Other states just aren't doing that. Yeah, no thanks. We're not sanctuary state. We're not going to make our taxpayers pay for the health care of illegals coming into the country that are illegal. We're doing that. All this battle with Trump, all this battle with ICE, totally unnecessary. And that's where all your tax dollars go to these ridiculous things. And then the legislature and the politicians got to jack up taxes because there's not enough revenue coming in because those who have been paying it have left. They left. Staggering 91% of business owners surveyed said they are not planning to expand their businesses in Washington state. 9 out of 10. Over 9 out of 10. At the same time, 24% said they are actively planning to relocate their businesses out of Washington altogether. I'm planning on relocating my personal residence altogether. But because Summit Properties and Reynolds and Klein are local businesses, real estate sales, can't really move them. So you would shut them down and reopen elsewhere if you're still going to be in that same industry. But you can't really do that. Among those considering relocation, a supermajority said they expect to make the move within the next year. This is the 2026 survey by the Association of Washington Businesses. Let's just go right to that survey, see what that says. Because you've got like nugget after nugget of little fact here. How would you rate the current Washington economy? 53% moderate. Yeah, okay. How would you economy? 56% moderate. Yep, I'd be right there too. How healthy would you say your business is at this moment? Business is flat. 100% agreed. 44% of businesses said that. I totally agree with that. It's flat. You're not going to see any ups. You're not going to see any major downs. I think long term, you're going to see some major downs because in real estate, we don't have the tech bros buying that we've had in the past because they're getting laid off. AI is taking their jobs. You've got a little bit of, people are just holding on. Now, there's a lot being made of the amount of inventory, real estate inventory on the marketplace right now. And granted, it's more than we've had in recent years by far. But we've also come off of years where you've had like 2 weeks of inventory. Normal inventory is 4 to 6 months. And here in Washington State and our MLS, we've still got less than 4. We've got like 3 months of inventory. Meaning if all houses, just no more houses came on the market, how long would it take to sell out? 3 months. That is still not a normal market where you've got adequate amount of inventory for buyers. In the next 6 months, will your business experience remain flat? 44% said yes. Agreed. I'd be right there. Does your business plan to expand in Washington in the next year or two? This is the big one. This is the whopper. This is almost unanimously, everybody said no. No, we're not expanding. And most of that would be don't have the capability of expanding, don't think the timing is right, think that the outlook is not great. The outlook is not great. So we're going to hunker down. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what other taxes come our way, and then we'll make a decision. But in the next year or two, are we going to expand here? No, because the outlook's it's not there. It's not positive. We're not saying a major meltdown is happening, but it could. It could, right? Does your company plan to expand in another state or country in the next year or two? 38% said yes. Almost 4 out of 10. No, said 62. Doesn't surprise me. I thought that those figures might be a little bit higher. Are you planning to relocate your business? A quarter of them said yes. Now, if that happens, then all bets are off. If a quarter of the businesses relocate out of state, that is a huge drop in tax revenue. And then Washington State will be caught in the inevitable doom loop that we talk about happening in, Portland, or is happening now in Oakland, or Oakland's got the highest rates of depreciation in the country. They're down 28% real estate values since 2022. 4 years, they're down 28%. Not good. Best describes your relocation status. 35%, just beginning to explore. 28%, actively researching locations. 18, developing a relocation plan. Vast, looking at moving. We're doing something. What's the expected timeline of your relocation? Almost half said 2 to 4 or 1 to 2 years. Soon, because it takes a long time to kind of get things up and going. And I will be, here you go. Are you considering moving your personal residence outside of Washington? Yes, and that's me. And it's a matter of timing. The spring market is kind of stalled out. We're waiting to see what goes on. Are we going to have a fall market? We're going to have a summer market instead of spring? Maybe. You're going to have if interest rates come down, and you know what? Right before the Iran war, we were there, hair under 6%. Now we're not there. Now we're more 6.35, but they bumped up to 6.5. And that's when buyers kind of stepped back and went, whoa, what's going on here? Well, rates bumped up because of the Iran conflict, right? What actions are you taking to move your personal residence outside of Washington State? Looking for real estate in another state? 6 out of 10 said that. I'm looking elsewhere. Visiting potential locations. Yep, I'm doing that next week. Consulting with a CPA or other tax professional. Done that. Consulting with legal counsel. Essentially, yep, done that. Hey, what's it going to take to get all this together and make these moves happen? And the fact that people are already so far down the road on this lets you know that this isn't an overnight deal. This is, the frog in the boiling water, right? Been happening for a long, long time. But now we're just kind of ramping up with this timeline. So had a bunch of other, where are you going? Do you expect the Washington economy to enter a recession the next year? About half said yes, and the other half said, not really sure. Only 11% said, nah, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. When do you expect the Washington economy to be in a recession? 11% this quarter, 13% in the next quarter, half in the next 6 to 9 months, 24% in the next 12 months. Basically, it's happening. It's going to happen. What does that look like? Challenges facing your business, 72% said tax burden. You had too many taxes, too much regulation, but specifically taxes, because you can't make enough money. Any increases in pricing right now for a lot of these businesses is basically just going to cover the additional tax burden. They're not making money. They're just pitching it in to cover their taxes to see what the future will look like, and if they can bring prices up to the point where they can make a true profit again. And if they can't, eventually they'll go away. Number 2 was 65% said cost of healthcare. And then we got government regulations, cost of fuel, inflation, lack of qualified workers. These are all things impacting businesses. So new sales tax took effect January 1st. Is your company directly impacted by these new or higher taxes? 3/4 said yeah. I mean, anytime you've got escalating taxes, you've got a known quantity of money moving away from your bottom line. Can't avoid those taxes, right? So they're there. Can't ignore them. So what do? You pay them, and you either pass the cost along to your consumers, or you eat it and you just say, well, we're going to wait to see if business turns around enough where I can raise those prices to get what I need out from my profit and my bottom line. How is your company responding to the tax increase? Yeah, raising prices for customers, absorbing the additional taxes for now. That is about, the vast majority of people responding. Considering relocating to another state. I mean, all of these are natural, but, just because somebody's considering doesn't mean they're actually going to do it. It means they're just thinking about it. So much of this is just, well, we're thinking about it. We're not 100% we're going to do it, but we might. And it's that we might that translates into, the outlook is not good for Washington State, because so many people are thinking about, hey, maybe I should get out of here. Maybe I should leave. Okay, how about the millionaire tax? Will the millionaire tax affect your company? 42% you said yes, 30% said no, 28% unsure. So 4 out of 10 are like, yep, it's going to impact us, and not in a positive manner. Because it's more taxes. You're going to have more people having more taxes taken out. That impacts people. That impacts businesses. So, things are not going in the right direction. Have supply chain disruptions impacted things? A little bit, but not too much. Is your business experiencing difficulty finding enough workers? I think all of these questions are basically overwritten by the fact that we've had all of these taxes basically get, bogged down on top of us. And then the outlook just isn't great. Many businesses say those costs are ultimately being passed on to consumers. Majority of owners, employers surveyed said they are raising prices, otherwise shifting the burden of those tax increases onto customers. And then customers got to pay more. They've got less money in their pocket. They're going to spend less. The whole cycle just kind of perpetuates, right? 42% of respondents. The survey covered 407 Washington employers. The results come as lawmakers in Olympia continue advancing tax increases, because why not? Why wouldn't we? Just shenanigans for days, months, years. Regulatory policies that critics argue are making Washington increasingly unaffordable and hostile to businesses. 100%. You bet. I mean, if you're a politician right now and you're going to try and tell me that Washington's anti-business policy, Washington's tax the heck out of everybody policy is encouraging businesses to come, you're out of your mind. You're on dope. How's that? You're on the dope. You're doing the dope. Because how else could you think that these are positive things for Washington State? For many employers, the survey signals a growing belief that Washington is no longer a viable place for long-term investment, expansion, or economic growth. 100%. I don't think it is. I think it has been for a very, very long time. But fundamentally, one of the issues I have from a fundamental basis is the price of housing here in Washington State. You know, they've constricted the supply with the Growth Management Act. You've made everything so expensive to build, massive amounts of regulations. And now you've got taxes coming out the absolute backside 10 ways from Sunday. So yeah, this is not a great place for long-term investment. Go someplace that doesn't have a millionaire tax. Go someplace where gas isn't over $6 a gallon right now, right? Go someplace where the estate tax isn't horrific when you die. Try and pass that on to your heirs, right? Expansion or economic growth. You want to expand in Washington State? You want to just double down on a state that we don't really know if a big recession's coming or not. You want to do that? Growth? Do you think you're going to have economic growth? No, not really. And when you think that, you're not going to be spending a bunch of money on just normal stuff, investing in your business, making sure your business is right there, competing with your competitors, whatever that might be. You do not have that going on in Washington State. Instead, you've got a hunker down mentality right now. And that's because business owners live and die by profit. And you've essentially got socialists in control of Washington State that want a big chunk of those capitalists' revenue, of those capitalists, their net worth. Hey, let's tax the millionaires. It's going to be great. Greatest thing ever. Progressive revenue. Even out the tax burden, even though the wealthy already pay the vast majority of the tax burden. But we got to go with this social narrative of socialism, right? Oh, yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be great for the working class. Well, the working class is going to be absolutely dumped on with more taxes because there's going to be nobody left to pay them. How long will this take? A while. But your business exodus, you'll see that up front. It won't be as bad as the numbers say. Those won't translate to actual businesses leaving because people will figure it out. They'll have stuff come up. They're like, I still make enough money. It's still okay. Because even in super high tax, environments like New York City or LA or Chicago or wherever, there's still businesses doing okay there. They make it work. They figure something out. But the overall outlook, 91%, we're not investing anymore in Washington State because we don't think it's worth it. That's the one big takeaway where you're like, oh, wow, ouch. That's not good. Hey, now, what happened there? Well, a bunch of politicians and their terrible policies, supermajority Democrats, that's what happened. Those decisions, actions have consequences, and we're seeing them in real time. Wild stuff. I mean, who would have thought you tax the F out of the constituents? They take their businesses and leave? Weird, right? Shenanigans. Make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with friends and family. I'll see you in the next episode. Thanks again for joining. Bye for now.